Hello. So I'm working on the boot covers today. I pulled out my original patterns again. These are the same patterns that I've already cut my shiny fabric pieces out of. I need to cut them now out of my lining. So I'm going to set these guys off to the side. What I also need to do too is I'm going to add an interfacing to this. That way they are stiff on their own and I don't need to keep pulling them up, but they'll want to stay up. Also, this material is quite thin, so it could slouch down on its own and create unwanted wrinkles. I want to be able to paint the wrinkles in the color cell blocking, sorry, cell shading. So I want them to stay up. So I'm going to also cut patterns out of this interface. I'm just using a pencil because it is white material. It's pretty visible, just a pencil. Remember, I'll need 2 of each. One normal, one flipped the other way. So I'd like to try to Tetris them as best as possible. That way I'm monopolizing as much space as I can. Sometimes you find out you can fit 3 in one direction where you could only do 2 if it was in the other. I'm going to iron this onto the lining pieces because you'll see that there's this shiny, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a shiny adhesive, pardon me, that you can just iron. So I'm just using a pencil. I'm going to trace my working on Mad Moxxi. You can kind of see her chest and the coat over my shoulder. I need to make sure that I leave an allowance, a seam allowance, along the edges. That's why I did not butt this up against the side. So this is inside right. Oh, I'll actually need to cut 4 of these, sorry, my mistake. I like to number and write on things a lot, that way I know where things go and should be placed. I'm going to also put this interface on the flap portion of the boot because it's going to be holding the buttons. It too could use a little bit more support. Now remember, that flap was just going to be for decoration. That seam. So there's one done. I've got enough room on this side that I can squeeze one of these guys in. Not sure where this cough is coming from. Woke up this morning, definitely a chill in the air. Yay for fall. Yay for fall. I just put an arrow on this one, that way I remember which way is up. Just gonna roll a little bit more of this out and keep going. My neighbors are being loud. Sorry if you hear their screaming children. Hope everybody's having, oh, hey Mocap. Hope everybody's having fun at Dragon Con right now. So jelly. So jealous. Someday that'll be on my route, my con route for a year. This year's not the year. I could have stacked these and traced one and cut, but then I wouldn't have been able to get such a tight Tetris fit with the patterns. I don't like wasting supplies. All that waste, I mean, most of it just gets thrown away. It's hard to reuse things, so. It looks like I missed part of the heel. So I'm just tracing my boot patterns out on interface. We'll have to trace them out again on the lining, which is just going to be plain white 100% cotton. I just want something nice and smooth against my leg. Remember, there will be two different types of fishnets, so you don't want anything that's going to snag. I figure if I make the costume of quality, there's not a lot to this costume, but hopefully it will stay alive a little bit longer. Wishful thinking. Right. So now that that's done, I'm going to get big scissors, sever my pattern pieces from the rest of the could just throw that stuff away. I'm gonna just roll it up. If I roll it up with the extra paper, I can just put a piece of masking tape on the end and it won't unravel on me. So that's where I put my beverage. So I'm just going to free these quickly, that way it doesn't take up too much space. I'm just making sure to cut even distances between patterns when they're side by side. The lining will help hold the boots up. Worst thing is when you have to keep adjusting a costume throughout the day, so one less thing to have to worry about. Just making sure I got all the right pieces. It looks like I do. Okay, so we're going to set these aside for now. And I'm going to trace the pattern pieces onto this. I wonder. If I iron them on, it looks like I'll still be able to see them through the back. So, with that being said, this cotton is just real cheap material. I'm going to iron those onto here, so I'm going to trim these up. That way, when I go to cut, it's saving me from having to draw them out. Yeah, just cutting. I'm cutting off the excess. I'm still leaving some seam allowance around my pattern, but there's a lot more negative space than I need. Especially when all this, if left, would just add more bulk when you sew and turn things right side out. So get rid of it. just cutting away. The last weekend, of course, the high schoolers in town go back to school, and all the other little kids. It'll be so much quieter outside. Yay! So now I'm going to iron these onto the white. Let's see if I've got everything in reach from. Well, I can still sit down. Yay! The trusty iron board out again. Where to plug it in this time? That helps. I hear. We'll just set this up. So the sides that I drew my pattern on will end up being cut. I know there they are. So I know that one side of this has already been cut. So I want to keep trying to use the space where it's already been tampered with. Let's see how. Trying to find a place to set this down. But it won't be in the way. I want to try to Tetris this as best as possible. So I need to make sure that the right side, put my pattern pieces behind these face out. You know, if I put this piece here, I can put something here. Yeah, see, like that can go here. I want to make sure that I iron out all the way to the edges with these. I don't want there to be gaps where this doesn't heat and stick. It just causes problems further down the line. Steaming up my glasses. A lot of ironing and costume making. And I can see my lines through, which is perfect. I really want to make sure that it's stuck without wrinkling. Sometimes when it overheats, it'll wrinkle up. Let it cool down for a second. Making sure I can't pick up any sides easily. I'm gonna iron this out for a second. There's a bunch of wrinkles in it. Making sure that I'm just seeing it's not dirty. I don't want dirty linen. Now I can bring this pretty far up now that the other one's ironed down. There. I'm going to just stamp down the center and work out from the middle. If I iron them on well enough, they'll stay through all this Tetrising, right? But we're at an odd enough point. I'm going to cut this off. So I'm just going to cut right along the interfacing line. See, and here's what I was worried about. It's wrinkled on the other side. So I'm crossing them out. I don't want those wrinkles, so I will pull this all up if I have to. Make sure you don't iron any wrinkles in there on purpose. I'll fix. Maybe now I'm just gonna put them right underneath the ironing board. Ah, see, it went all the way straight through that section, so there might be a bump in the ironing board that I just missed. No problem. Kind of pulling it as I cut it. This interface is not as thick as the stuff I used in the collar. This is thinner than that. Ironing is not one of my favorite things to do. Not at all. But I'll iron pieces on and cut them out before I have to trace more, so it's how to get done anyways. So I could cut a step out in between. Slide off. Another foot. Putting the glossier side down. Achoo! Oh, excuse me. I guess that's what I should have been doing from the start. Because there's going to be more bumps. I'm stuck for the moment. Sorry, camera. I'm forgetting to pull the fabric as I'm ironing these like an idiot. Looks like no matter what, I gotta give some TLC to each side. This area up here didn't stick. Couple more boot pieces after this. Just remember we're saving a step by just ironing because we can see the pencil marks through, which is fine. Flip it over, get the other side. That one turned out well. Ooh. This will fit perfectly right there. And I dropped the last and final key. I wonder how would this go? Ah, even better. Even better. Always got more space. last interface piece to iron on for our lighting is this. Nope, sorry, didn't mean to hit you. Sorry, machine. Alright, time to cut these guys out. I'll trim them later. Just need to get them detached from the rest of this fabric. See, I'm just cutting out the lining for Mad Moxxi's boots. I'm going to do some ironing touch-ups with these ones. The first two are perfect and good to go. These ones just need a little bit more TLC. I can't half-ass my costumes and just toss it aside, so I'll fix them. Okay. Clean pieces. Let me fold this up quickly. Looks like I missed. Did I not clean up the first two? Or just not the first one? Sorry, little buddy. There we go. All better. Wow, that pinched me. You don't want to start bleeding when you're working with white fabric. End up using a lot of what is it, hydrogen peroxide that gets bled out. Sorry, I have to clean things up before I move on to the next. Where can I put this? The cat doesn't bump it. Okay. Now here are my other shoe pieces. So now I'm going to match everything up. I'm going to figure out and remember what goes with what. So I know that those guys are not the correct shoe. Those ones are. These guys are. And these guys. Well, I need to figure out. Yeah, okay, so that goes to that side. This goes to that side. They're actually switched. So we go like that. Where's my reference? I think I left it on my phone. So pardon me as I pull up my boot reference quickly. Alright, and they do go on the front. Okay, that's what I was just double checking, second guessing myself, you know, normal stuff. Actually, I'll go like this. This will end up like that. So now I'm going to pair everybody up with their corresponding parts, trying to keep each shoe separate. One boot cover's worth of pieces, which means okay, because what will happen is these are the buttons for the boots. So things are progressing correctly so far. That's a plus. That's a positive. Alright. I need to switch my thread out. I don't like to leave it in there if it's frayed at the end. Like a nice clean cut off. Like that. I don't want anything to get caught. Alright. Now that that's taken care of, I don't have to worry about that. Before I go into putting the zippers in, I need to attach the front together. So what I'm going to do is my lining and my outside fabric are going to be separate to begin with, and then I'm going to zigzag stitch them together. What I do need to do first, though, is I need to make the tops and these little flap guy thing. If there is that all the way around? It is. Yeah, we're going to do an imitation of that then. Okay. I'm going to end up stitching this into... Thank you, Brown Coat Captain. So I'm going to stitch the front panel of this into the top of the top layer of fabric, not the lining. So what I mean by that is I'm going to leave the lining aside for now. I'm going to pin my boot covers together along this line, and I'm going to stitch this on the inside so when I turn it right side out. This flap is going to be on the opposing side. I don't have to worry about stitching along the exterior and folding it inside out. I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch to hold the fabric together because I'm going to be doing the yellow bias tape that I made. Will be going around the exterior of this. So we're just going to set the sewing machine to a zigzag for now, nothing fancy. You got to be careful because if you pin into this fabric, it will show. The pin holes don't just disappear. So you want to make sure that you pin on the exterior of your actual pattern, so that that allowance that we deliberately put. So I'm just going to put a couple tack marks. Luckily with this lighting, it's letting me see through it all so clearly. I just don't want the fabric to move on me while I'm stitching it, so I'm just putting a couple pins in for now. There's quite a bit of fabric all the way around this, so I might trim some of it off, because goodness gracious, there's a lot of extra. A lot of extra. Oh, very cool. Very cool. How are your hands holding up with all the leather working that you've been doing? I remember things. So I'm just going to get them both of the fronts situated for the zigzag stitch. There's no need to set the machine up twice if you could just do it in one go around. So again, I'm making sure to pin in my seam allowance. I don't want my pin marks to show up on the actual boot cover. Wonder clips would be a good use right now. We're going to, we'll bring it in and shorten the stitch a bit. Did I trim this one? I didn't. That's the best way to do it, is just, sometimes you just sit and stare at something for so long, i.e. Mad Moxxi. It's been a year. She's getting done this weekend. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's happening. Sometimes you just get frustrated, or you're just overthinking things and you just need a visual and mental break. I too do that. I want to follow the exact seam. So I'm just going to do like a connect the dots dash line. I want to be able to cut off really close to this edge later. Okay, now I'm ready to go. Making sure nothing's caught underneath. It looks probably really sharp and clean. So I'm taking my pins up as I see my fabric because it is this like slick crap. As it wants to bunch, I'm kind of shifting and directing it on which way I want it to go. Humbug fabric. Looks like you can't win for lose sometimes. When in doubt, I've got no fear, just rip it out. It's like it started skipping and jumping around a bit. I don't like it. It looks like it started doing it all the way down here. No one's going to see these zigzag stitches, however, if it's already starting to like crinkle my fabric, I might as well pull it out now, because if it's starting to cause problems, they're only going to get bigger later. Fix your problems as they occur. That's what I tell myself. I'm a big procrastinator at times. Shoot, I mean, look at, I'm not even working in Gosetsu. I'm going to put some stitches in multiple places. As an anticipatory action for things wanting to slide. World of a difference sewing that with that little dart in the middle. World of a difference. Ooh, so many stray threads. So I am sewing Mad Moxxi's boots together. I'm zigzag stitching the lining to the exterior fabric for the flap that her buttons attach to. So I did a bunch of molding and casting of her buttons a while back. So now I'm just sewing things together. Trying to get in the habit of cutting stray threads as they become stray, instead of having to collect them all later. So yeah, here's what one of them looks like. Yes, I could have done this in my serger, which is right behind me over my shoulder, but I'm lazy and I didn't want to set it all up. That, and I'm hopefully not going to have to zigzag stitch a lot more of this. I've got the other flap to do. But this is more or less to hold it in place when I sew it to the big guy. So you can tell that the insulation, not the inside, the interface isn't too thick where it wants to stay up by its own, but hopefully all stitched together will give it the support that it needs. Just set you out of the way for now. I do those dashes again. It's easier to sew with the cotton fabric catching the foot on the bottom. So yeah. The goal is to get these done completely today. Now I'm not sure if I'll get to putting the red bias or the handmade yellow bias tape on it, but set some hefty goals. Sorry if it's loud. I'm going to do this the same way I did the first one because it worked out so well by putting the little like dart stitches, gaps of stitches to help hold the fabric stationary so it doesn't slip against the stitches we already have put in. So if you're just jumping on, we are making the boot covers for Mad Moxxi. The boot covers I'm making are fully lined. So currently I'm working on the flap that covers the side of the front side of the boot that has the buttons that attach to them. Oh. So that noise is my machine telling me that my bobbin is low. So instead of running out of thread into my stitch, it tells me that it is low. So yep. If you're wondering what machine and what type of machine I'm using, it is the Bernina, some people know the company better as Sublime Chicago 7, so it's the sewing machine and embroider all in one shebang. It's digital, so I just pushed a button and it's winding. I've only done this a couple times. So, cool thing about this machine is when you thread its foot. Oops, something's caught on something. Just redo it. If I get any resistance or if there's anything, I just pull it out and rethread it. Take the time. And now we should be able to, I'll check my settings, make sure nothing's changed. Okay, get back to sewing. I didn't have to hold on to anything when I started it up. I dig this machine. I gotta be careful of all my stray thread pieces. I don't want my cat to eat them. Alright, we're gonna do this backwards. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next part. Turn that off for now. I need to pin them to the respectful boot covers. So it actually might be easier to do pin the lining first. It's all going to get sewn, straight stitched. But what I want to do is I want to match up my pattern pieces. So luckily I can kind of see through them, but that doesn't always make it perfect. I should probably go this way with my pins. So yeah, a lot of work goes into a quote-unquote simple project. Make sure that when you pin things together, you pin the right sides together. That way when you turn them inside or right side out, you can't see the stitch. Just a lot of pinning and sewing into place. That toe only goes up to here. There might need to be some alterations to these patterns. I did just kind of make them up. Now I'm not going to do the back because the back's going to attach to the separating zipper, and that's going to be when I stitch the lining and the fronts together. Just a lot of pinning. I don't want things to move around when I'm stitching them. Happy Friday to everybody. I guess we're not enjoying Dragon Con together. Alright. So I'm having to keep flipping it back over because I'm getting it pinned, stuck in one line, but it's not matching up in the other, so I'm having to do some adjusting. Looks like this one falls short too for some reason. Alright, that works for me. Now it would be silly to not pin together the other pieces and then just go to the sewing machine with all the parts. I'm going to get the buttons out of the way. We'll do a stream of painting buttons, but not today. So what's going to happen so I want this to end up here when all is said and done. So for that to happen, I need to pin it in place. So I know where this corner is at. I think I know where this corner is at. And I'm going to pin them. I'm going to tack it twice. Again, all of my pinning is happening outside of my actual pattern line and in that negative space, or the seam allowance as we call it. Okay, now with that there, I'm actually going to do a couple stitches. Maybe I'll do a zigzag stitch along the exterior of all of this. That's not a bad idea. The last thing you want is all this hard work to go to waste because you didn't want to stick in a couple stupid effing pins or, you know, sewing marks. So by doing that, Yep, okay. Slowly all the separate pieces are becoming one. Ow, that was a pin to the back of the hand. It was delightful. Okay. Well, it looks like we're going to have to do some stitching on these first. So I'm doing a straight stitch down the center of the zigzag stitch, attaching the flap to the outside cover. Now I won't have to hold it in place or worry about it sliding about when I go to sew the two fronts together. So here's one sewed together. This one I apparently decided to pin backwards. It's always best to pin them so you can easily pull them out as you're sewing. Always good. Alright, while I'm doing that, I might as well stitch these up. Just because I put the pins there doesn't mean I shouldn't remove them. Just letting people know. That's how you'll bust a pin. Now I'm going to back stitch on these guys. So there's one lining. Alright, let's move you back up, boy. Both my lining are good, but I need to do the insides now. Or the outsides. Duh, linings are the insides. Cool. Okay. So that's one. This guy will go here. This one will go on the other one. Time to pin them together. When I pin this, I want to make sure that I'm pinning it so it's not going to show the zigzag lines from before. Ow. Reaching into a container full of pins. Risky business. Now I know that they won't lay flat against each other, because again, my boots aren't flat. People are 3D. That's a weird hiccup. Ah, I see. Well, that'll be fixed at a later date then. Can't be helped now. Because I'm using a separating zipper in the back, it'll make alterations to these simpler, easier, more welcoming. Alright. I'm going to trim these while I'm thinking about it right now. Continue with the straight stitch. my scissors. And then the moment of truth happens when you open it up. Alright, so it looks like there's a little section here where I can see some of my zigzag. Other than that, it's perfect. So let's fix this area right in here. Oh, I see why. Okay. Let's see if that minor adjustment hit it. It did. So you can't see anything. My boot covers are coming along. So what I'm going to do now is cut off all this extra slack. I'm still on this one. What I'm also doing is I'm cutting through the that zigzag stitch too. If there's anything that's voila. Alright, that looks sharp. I guess how it makes sense to put these over there. One more. I guess I should do these. Alright. I'm going by feel a little bit as well when I pull these pins out. You know, can I feel the ribbing of the zigzag stitch? You know, will I miss it? Will I nick it? Go through it? We want to come out on the opposite or the inside side of our zigzag stitch. That way it's hidden behind our straight stitch. Just like the other one, we'll check. This one turned out without a problem at all. Awesome. Okay. Before I knock these all to the ground and have to play pin pickup. move it out the way. So this will be the right shoe. Done correctly. This is my left shoe. My lining and my lining. This will go on the inside of both of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pinning. My favorite thing to do, to pin all along the outside of this. Yep, that's my next task. That way I can turn it inside out and it'll be perfect, or right side out and it'll be perfect. So I've got to now pin. So here's the outside portion of my boot, and I've got to pin it to the inside portion, my lining, which also has my interface, which will keep them up my stockings so I don't have to keep pulling them down. One thing I hate is having to keep altering my costumes or adjusting my costumes while I'm wearing them. So we want to, just like when we did the other side, pin the right sides together. I'm using the light so I can peer through and get an idea of what the heck I'm doing. Making sure to pin in my seam allowance area. I feel like I should start from the seam. That's a wise choice. However, that seam, ow. So I'm just pinning my lining to my fabric, mutilating my arms with pins. So I'm just pinning my linings to my fabric. Oh, Mad Moxxi boot covers. So what I need to do is I need to stitch the top together. However, when I do that, that's going to I can always cut it. Yeah. Okay. I don't need to do this. To turn them right side out. Actually. Would it make it easier to put the zippers in this way? Maybe I don't need to put them together facing the wrong direction. Let's see here. Sorry, that's in your way. Forgive me. So now I'm gonna try something. I think I've got a better technique. I'm not gonna unpin what I just pinned in case this puzzle doesn't work. I'm gonna put a boot on for a second. Oh, I'm working on the other one. Just putting in the left boot. That's what I thought was going to happen. That one really got me. What I need to be careful of is as I go around this, I need to make sure that I'm giving enough for the fabric to stretch. Yeah, just like that. Alright, so I can't... I'll just leave the shoe on for now. So you're going to be careful not to stretch the fabric, but to let it sit loosely. All I'm trying to do is find the distance so I can put some damn zippers in. All I want to do right now is put some zippers in. The fit of these laying against each other is just all wrong. I'm so tired of getting jabbed by pins right now. sorry, you can't see much. I'm kind of forming it around my foot and pinning it. And trying not to mutilate myself. Small goals. Small goals. So it is coming along slowly, but surely. Alright, so we're getting there. Just want to make sure these work out perfectly the first time around. Yep, screaming, that's the neighbor children. If there's any thought of me wanting to have my own, that's out the window. No thank you. So I'm making sure that my fabric fits around the lining, because again that does add some bulk on the curve that is my leg. So there, that one's good to go. At least it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's good. How? For the love of everything holy. Pins. Ow, that one really hurt. So now I might as well put on the other shoe and do the exact same thing. I gotta be careful, I don't want to get blood on this white. Ah, humbug. First I gotta, I'll put the shoe on because it's weird just wearing one shoe inside the house. going to unpin it all. Alright. I'm using the table to help hold things down as I pull them over and pin them. I'm pinning as far to the edge as possible. Wedging my heel in my storage container underneath here. A lot of pinning and adjusting and repitting. Sorry, it's not interesting. It has to happen. Just adjusting everything. It's always easier the first time than having to duplicate something almost exactly the second time. Foot itches inside the shoe. Nothing I can do about it right now. It's hard to pin while it's against my leg. All right. That wasn't a difficult pain in the ass. So now that I have them pinned, I have to trim them up because it's so sloppy. Yep. So I'm going to trim off all this extra slack before I stitch them. Yep. Careful not to cut into any pins. Trying not to snip my pins. I don't want to ruin my scissors. Heck with the pins. Wrong leg. Wrong leg. I see what's going on there. So I'm trimming the extra around the boot leg cuff, the boot cover, so they just look better. It's easy to sew. Oh, I literally was just cutting into that poor scissors. I'm sorry. Sorry, pin. I'm sorry, scissors. Didn't mean to put you through such hardship. I try to make sure that I keep all my scissors, my fabric scissors, don't do anything weird, like cut through pins or wires, because that'll just nick. And that's not what I want. Cool, okay. I want to test out the bottom fit. Yeah, it's the exact same, except for in the center here. Now, before I can put the zipper on, I am going to create, how do I explain it? More bias tape for the most part, but I'm going to have it where it folds more than normal double-sided. So I need to find out where I put my scraps. I'm taking these boots off so I don't hurt myself on the carpet. So here are my zippers. Here's my leftovers. I'm just going to measure. And they are exactly 14 inches. And this zipper is exactly 14 inches. Couldn't have planned that any better. I know that one of these edges is straight no matter what. This here looks like, yeah, this will do fine. I'm going to flip it over so that I'm going to draw on the non-shiny but fabric side of things. I need to cut out 1, 2, ideally 4 of these. This is going to help me hide my zipper. And I actually think I need to be able to, where's a piece of paper? Well, I need it to cover. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't think it's gonna work like that. Which is alright. No, we'll just leave them 2 at a time. So 1, 2. See, this is why we can't do the boot covers over as many times as we want, because this is all that fabric that we have left. Two. Voila. So I know. Okay. I need to roll these and stitch them along the side. And what I'm going to do, I was just wondering how I was going to get them to stay. A little bit of glue. Awesome. Which means I'm going to need my clips. That's how we'll get this to work out in our favor. I'm not going to do too much. This is the best idea I have. So I'm just gluing. I may even give it a little bit of gap. So the reason I brought these pins, I won't have to hold it. side. I only have to do this 4 times. And then what I'll do is I'll fold them in half. That way I only have to use twice as less. There's one. Adjust them so I can get more to do this one with. Just tuck it underneath the sewing machine for now. Gluing down the bias tape. Gluing down. I think I just shove them all underneath the sewing machine. Yep, I can. That'll help keep them compressed. So it's not quite. get them to stick together so that I can run them through the sewing machine quicker. Alright, hopefully that holds them much better. They won't slip. Ow. Close that one on my finger. Okay. So now I need to let these dry for a bit. So we're going to wrap up this stream for today for the moment. It's almost 4 o'clock here anyways. Once these dry, maybe I will have time to get back on before dinner to attach them to the boot covers. But right now I just have to leave them alone, let them sit, let the glue dry. That way I can stitch them. I don't want to stitch through the glue if it's still tacky, because then it'll get all over my machine. I can wait, what, the half an hour or so. Oh, 2 hours before I can apply them. But the boot covers, they are coming along. You can see now what I was talking about by having the flap on the front of the boot that has the buttons on it. I didn't really need this flap to be working per se. That way you can also see the seam down the center. But it will have the trim and whatnot, so it'll look good. It'll look good. That's the plan. So thank you for everybody that popped in to the stream. I know there wasn't a lot of talking. Sorry, I just don't know what to talk to you guys about. I tried to explain the process and what I'm doing as I go through it. But other than that, I look to you guys to converse with through chat. So thank you for stopping by, for checking out this video of Mad Moxxi's boot covers. Again, we're not done just yet. There is still some stuff that we need to do, i.e. stitching these in and putting the yellow bias tape. The yellow bias tape needs to go around everything still. But we're getting there. Slowly but surely we're getting there. If you want to check out progress videos or progress pictures as they are happening, check out any of my social media. The Instagram is going to be your best highlight reel, if you will, for the most amount of pictures and progress, fun stuff. Other than that, I look forward to possibly seeing you guys later today. And if not, tomorrow is Saturday. But as of right now, I am looking to stream tomorrow morning. So that's a possibility as well. I will let you know ahead of time on my Facebook and my Instagram if it's a go, what time we're looking for. I'll try to shoot out notifications a half hour to an hour beforehand, just to make sure that if you want to watch it, you have time to get things in order and get your snacks ready to watch. So thanks again. See you guys later.